If John was the heartthrob, Paul the genius, and George the quiet one, what was Ringo?
Oh, I know I'm loved. You know, I'm the lovable one.
As the drummer of arguably the most famous band of all time, Ringo Starr quickly secured his place in music history. He also contributed vocals in some of the Beatles' most famous hits, singing the lead in songs such as Yellow Submarine and With a Little Help from My Friends. And his public profile changed the role of percussions in rock forever. After the breakup of the band in 1970, he continued to release solo albums and started his own record label. Ringo Starr and his all-star band currently tour around the world, and this January, Starr released his 15th studio album entitled Why Not? A living legend who spans generations, Ringo Starr is your connector of the day. I sat down with him earlier in London today, and I started by asking what makes this latest album different, well, from the rest. This is what he said.
Well, I produced it. Usually I have, a co-producer and we pull it together between us, but this one I started making it, a lot of friends playing on it, and I actually brought in a producer to talk to as the bass player, so Mike Bradford's playing on the record, and I said, maybe I'll need you to come in and help me out, and then I had to call him back saying, I'm having so much fun, I'm going to do this one myself, and that's how it happened.
Any thoughts on touring at this stage?
I'm touring June, July and August in America.
Some viewer questions for you. Adam, where did you get the material for Why Not, and what inspired it mainly, he says?
Something to do. I was sitting around in LA and I went on the synth and just got rhythm patterns with some chords that I enjoyed, and then I drummed to that. And then, the likes of Dave Stewart lives in LA. He came over, got him to play. Joe Walsh, just got him to play. We had no song, we just had the track. Just play something, keep it moving. And that's how it all happened. I would call friends, come on over, and they played.
It sounds a lot of fun. Susan's asking, what is your most satisfying recording experience then, as a Beatle or as a solo artist?
That's hard to say. I mean, if you listen to the Beatles music, some of the tracks are just incredible, and the players are incredible. So, that was that. And when you do it like this one, because I did it myself for the first time, I'm still like, wow, I wrote this song, and look at it now, What do you, Kira says, attribute your longevity to? Your music is so multi-generational. What's that all about? It's about the music. I mean, if, we leave nothing, we leave the music. It's nothing to do with the mop tops or the suits or the Beatle boots. In the end, it's the music, and it's still viable today. I mean, it still holds up today. And I talk to bands who are out there today, and they're like, wow, God. I was talking to this guitarist yesterday, and, the scope of the tracks, from... let's say, Michelle to Day in the Life. It was like, we weren't just doing that track stuff, it was like all over. And so music was important, and we had many styles.
Lucy asks, what are your fondest memories of those days?
Of those days? Having three brothers. Hanging out with three brothers was my fondest, and making great music.
Greg James, do you see yourself as Ringo, or he says... Or perhaps, how do you maintain an individual face outside of that?
It's absolutely, the Ringo is there, and my real name, Richard, is here, or Dad, or Darling. So it's an easy thing, I've done it long enough.
Thor asks, in what way did the other Beatles influence your own work later in life, and obviously talking about what you're doing now?
Well, if you look at my records from the Ringo album, the other three are on it. They'd written songs for several of the other albums. They played on my albums. It's just great to play with really cool players. And as a musician, it's always better to play with people because we know where we're going. And that's part of, I feel, being a musician, is that, you know, you understand each other.
Are you looking forward to getting back on the road then?
Well, I go every 2 years.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I'm doing 31 gigs. I mean, I'm like the gentleman musician now. I set up 30-odd gigs, and then it's over. Then I'm on holiday.
Yeah.
Then I'll say, oh, maybe I'll make a record. Then I start that, you know. So there's no real pressure anymore. I just do it when I'm happy to do it.
Steve Turner has written in. He says, recently you were quoted that God is now in your life. Now, 40 years after the Beatles breakup, the Vatican has officially forgiven John's "we're bigger than Jesus" remarks. How does that make you feel?
Didn't they say, the Vatican say we were satanic? Possibly satanic, and they still forgive us. I think the Vatican should... I think they've got more to talk about than the Beatles.
JSN, what's your favourite song now? What was your favourite Beatles song? And if you had one song you wanted to perform and play, what would it be?
You know, musically, I love music, and is it Ray Charles? Is it James Brown? Is there Aretha? Is it Lonnie Donegan? You know, you can't pick your favourite song. I just did a thing in America, and I can only pick the songs I'm really into today. Or you want to know about the song I bought, the first records I bought, which was the Four Aces. You know, the question is too far out.
Here's a good question, Free. What is on your iPod then?
I think it's 5,000 tracks. And of everything, you know, from the blues, country music, what's happening now. I like to buy on iTunes, because that way I get to hear what's out there now. Yeah. And when I get bored with that, I always press blues, and then I buy more blues.